Hey guys, Bump here, back on the Midnight Alpha, making another video about the Unholy Death Knight. There's been a couple of changes since I last made a video, so I thought let's have a look at what has changed, how we feel about things, what the impact thing is, and so on. I think overall, interesting changes for sure. Putrefy definitely feels better to press with these new changes, but I feel like the direction they're doing with the disease gameplay is not quite where I would like it to be. But let's take a look at the actual changes, talk about how the impact us, and so on. I got them up here as usual. We'll start with the ones that happened a couple of weeks back. So, first of all, Soul Reaper is back again. So this is something they removed from the class tree, but they now put it back with an Unholy. It has been changed a little bit. So there's no longer this like 5-second delay where you press it and then after 5 seconds it explodes and deals like damage if the target was below 35% health. Now it's only usable on targets below 35% health, and then it just does its damage straight up. You also get this 20% increased damage from your diseased minions for 8 seconds, and this makes it a really powerful execute spell. I like to see it back. It has been significantly dumbed down, but that's probably also nice because having to wait for that delay is also a bit annoying. Now it's much more easy. Press it and execute, deal big damage, right? You're quite happy. You can also see it has a 15 seconds cooldown. So this also won't be something that you press all the time and execute. It will be less disruptive. In current gameplay and execute, you do spend a lot of GCDs pressing this, which kind of disrupts your standard rotation. So that's nice. I like that overall. We have like the Apex talents have been slightly updated. It's now 1 second GCD instead of 0.75. So it's not as spammy, but still quite spammy. Putrefy has been updated. I think this is one of the big ones. So when you press it, previously, it kind of, after a couple of seconds, all the skull will explode and deal damage. Now it deals damage immediately. So it actually feels like something when you press it. That's a great change. And then after a couple of seconds, it explodes, which is nice. I think one of the big issues before was that when you pressed this, you didn't feel it. It feels like a dead best button, which is not great. So that's nice. The updated Putrid Echoes, that was the one that had this like weird thing where sometimes, or like it would change the scaling nature of Putrefy in AoE. Now it just gives you 2 charges, and then also makes it so that 2 of your ghouls get this like attack speed buff as well. This adds some complexity. It means that you want to press Putrefy when you have 2 ghouls up, or 3 ghouls, because one of them is going to be putrefied, and you want to make sure that they have been up for at least 3 seconds. So you get this little bit of kind of feedback loop where you summon lots of ghouls and then you press Putrefy to buff them, which I think is like a nice gameplay. We got Blight Burst has been redesigned. This was previously one that would consume diseases when you pressed Putrefy. Now, instead, Explosion extends diseases, which is pretty cool. Also, you get that Putrefy applies your plagues to unaffected targets, adding a lot of nice stuff in there. This just is like a nice thing, so you don't need to pay attention to applying your dots, pretty much, which is nice to some degree. It means that we're going to press Outbreak a bit less. I'll get to like another Outbreak talents that's come in the recent build. We'll talk about that. But this is a great change. I really didn't like the fact that you Putrefy would just consume diseases, making it like stressful to keep them up. So that's not, yeah, it's pretty nice. We have reanimation, the Magus thing. Now we get 1 extra additional ghoul during Dark Transformation. This is pretty cool. It means that you summon 2 Magi during DT. So you could essentially go DT, Putrefy twice, and then you get 4 Magi that's doing lots of cleave. So that's a fun interaction, I think. I still have this issue where like you press DT, you want to summon your Magi immediately, but that also means kind of like sacrificing ghouls too early. It won't matter that much in AoE, right? Because the ghouls do little damage, but still it feels a little bit weird. We have an Outbreak now, gives you 24 seconds of your diseases by default. That's a nice buff. It used to be a bit low before, I think, so that's cool. Harbinger of Doom, updated, it's down there. Oh, where is it? Hang on. Okay, alright. So Commune Sun Doom reduces the cooldown Putrefy. This reminds me a lot about Frost, where Rhymes can reduce the cooldown on a power weapon. I think it's really nice. There are a lot of parallels there. Like, if you look at Unholy now, I see a lot of Frost ideas creeping in. I don't mind it too much, because those ideas are good. I like it. And like, I really want Putrefy to end up in a position where, like, oh, this is a great button to press. I love it. That would be ideal, but we'll see. Let's see. Unholy Devotion, we talked about that one already. Oh, Putrid Echoes. I missed that, sorry. So this is the one that does increased damage and this extra charge, and this Unholy Devotion is that gives you like 2 ghouls more damage during some time. Reaping has been updated as well. Here we go. You get extra damage when the target's low, even more execute. We're gonna be very good in execute, I think. We also have that Putrefy has a chance to reset the cooldown with Soul Reaper, and then allow it to be used on any targets, which is super nice. So this means that you kind of need to look at when you use Putrefy, might give you a Soul Reaper charge, and then, yeah. Right, we got DT getting a small update, short duration, and then you extend it a bit less. It just means that we're going to get less uptime on this overall, which might be I don't know. I don't know why they did this. I wouldn't mind it having longer uptime, but maybe it's too strong now. It has reanimation built into it. Well, the extra ghoul and so on. I don't know. Right, we've got Festering Scythe. This is a bit different now. I'll just show how that works. Essentially, when you press Festering Strike, you get Festering Scythe. Next one. Press that down. It costs no runes, and then it gives you this buff afterwards that makes your Plague deal more. This is quite interesting. It means that like Festering Strike on average just costs 1 rune, right? And it means that I think in general we have a bit too many resources on the alpha. Like, stuff doesn't cost enough, so we end up overcapping and things. I don't know. It's very an interesting change because it seems subtle, but this just means that we get much more resources in our rotation to deal with. We'll see. They did make an update here for Festering Strike. Used to be 3 to 4 Scout Strike to summon lesser ghouls. It's now 2 to 3. So you have to press a bit more. That's not that big a thing. We have that Runic Power Spenders also increase your plagues. So like Death Call, increase plague. It's now 1.5 seconds. I think it used to be 3, wasn't it? Something like that. Sudden Doom reduces Runic Power by 20 instead of 30. So that removes some really powerful from our rotation. But still, we have lots of resources anyway. And that's pretty much it. We also had this thing which capped the duration of our dots previously. So in the previous iteration before this, you could kind of like stack up only to 40-ish. And then I changed this, and suddenly we could go up to like 1 minute plus when playing some lane. And then there were some other changes that kept it back again, but we'll talk about those. I think these changes overall, if you summarize, some nice quarter life changes, some interesting changes to talents like Festering Scythe, for instance. But importantly, it made Putrefy actually feel okay to press, which I like. This iteration also made like same lane really interesting because you would stack up huge disease times, and then you would leverage your essentially Affliction of Sorrow to get big damage, like pretty much good old Necrotic Plague. So during your cooldown windows, you stack up your disease duration, gives you loads of disease damage. Super cool. However, there were more changes, unfortunately. The ones that came off after, it just updated this reaping effect. We already covered this. But that 25% reset, that wasn't a thing in the previous build. And then, the most recent ones. What happened here? So, yeah, first of all, we got a new capstone, Pestilence. So, this is interesting. I don't know exactly how to feel about this. Essentially, when you Scout Strike, you get a chance to get this Pestilence ability. So your Outbreak becomes Pestilence. That will consume your diseases, dealing 50% of the remaining duration. Gain a charge of Putrefy as well. Like, effectively, how this works, just take a look. Let's see. I'll just do my rotation normally here. And I'm going to stack up my diseases, right? Remember, they also updated Sen Lane. That will come in, but Sen Lane no longer has this effect, which deals damage based off your disease duration. So I stack them up over time, you know. Nothing too much happening, and then you get it. What happens here, if I press that, it consumes all my diseases, and then I reapply them. So I think they made this talent in such a way that you didn't just continually increase your disease rotation over time. Disease duration. Without this talent, what happens essentially is that you apply your disease at the start of fight, and then you just forget about them. There is no interaction. You don't benefit from having longer diseases. It's mostly that you don't have to reapply them all the time. They just naturally kind of keep themselves up. This allows us to go, well, I'm going to benefit a bit from having long diseases. I'm going to consume them, deal lots of damage, and then I'm going to reapply them. I don't like this because, like, you only get 50% back. So it's like, I consume everything, but I only get 50% of the value that I would have gotten if I just waited. Obviously, just waiting is not always an option. Because if you end the fight with like a 2-minute disease, that's a 2-minute disease you could have consumed and then reapplied. I would have liked it if it was like 100% the remaining damage. That would be nicer. Might be a bit too overpowered. I also don't like the fact that when you use it, you have to reapply Outbreak. So this essentially means, you know, double press Outbreak. I don't know. It would be nice if, you know, it consumes it, does 100% of its damage, and then reapplies them. I would like that. So this just feels a bit meh at the moment. Yeah. I don't think it's too exciting. Let's see. This was also with Blight Burst. Added the plagues to unaffected targets, which I mentioned already. And then it deals a 30% of damage they would deal over the time instantly. That was 100%. Also a bit of a nerf there. And then they've done some minor tuning here. So they removed Festering Corruption. What did that do? Let's see. Runic Corruption now increases your rune generation rate. Yeah, that was a really boring talent, so I like that they removed that one. They moved up Festering Scythe, so that used to be the bottom gate, right? Reanimation has been nerfed. They used to summon the Magi for 15 seconds, now only 8. Kind of makes sense because it does double, so that's a potential one. They buffed Race of Formation, so the Disease Cloud deals a bit more damage. And then they moved some talents about, which I'm not 100% sure what they... Who knows? Not sure about that one. Which one actually moved. Anyway, alright, those are all the changes. What do we feel about them? I feel like Sen Lane losing Infliction of Sorrow is a bit sad. And I hope that gets brought back in some way. I would have loved it. That's just something with the default tree, so we get some disease interaction. I feel like currently there just isn't that much with diseases, right? I don't know, you apply them and then they last forever. I don't know. And then that's kind of it. And if you pick up this, what's it called again? Pestilence talent, you sometimes consume them. But like, imagine if you're in the type and you don't pick up Pestilence talent. What happens? Well, there is no interaction with diseases, and then you just do your standard rotation, and that's kind of it, right? We could just do an example now. I'm gonna see if I do this for 1.5 minutes and see where does my disease uptime, you know, land after that time, just to give some to highlight what's going on here. Because, you know, I'm level 80, I have very little haste, I don't have all my talents, all that kind of stuff. That's just going to have, you know, increase with gear and level. Which means that at the end of the day, I'm going to be sitting here and I will probably have even higher durations. Now I'm kind of in a spot where they're not going down, they're not going up kind of thing. But still, you know, I'm at 46 now. I just keep going. You get my point? There's no benefit to this, right? Sure, if I move out of range, they're still going to tick, but I could just do that manually by hitting an outbreak, so... I don't know. I feel like there isn't enough to kind of go, ooh, your diseases are interesting. That's all. Yeah. Oh well, we'll see. But yeah, Blizzard, I would love it. Like, Infliction of Sorrow is pretty cool. Why isn't it here? You know, that'd be interesting. I don't know. This is kind of Infliction of Sorrow, but not really. It has the secondary effect, but not this like ramping effect, which dealt damage based off the duration of your diseases. So we'll see. I will say, overall, I'm happy with the direction. My previous video, I was talking a lot about Putrefy feeling terrible to press. It's pretty good to press now. But still, you know, if you compare to Frost, they have Empower Real Weapon, which is like super nice to press. So, you know, there's still some way to go with it. You can make it even nicer. Because you have an example of something that feels super, super nice. So try and emulate that, please. I feel Soul Reaper is back. I was a bit sad when it went, so I'm glad it's back. And overall, yeah. It's coming together for sure. Like, stuff fits in a good way. It feels natural to press things. The rotation flows, but that might also be a bit in a too much way because like, we have too many resources. So they might need to balance that as well. We'll see. It doesn't help that the default set also goes in and dabbles with our resources, and that can also be an issue. Anyway, that's your update for the Unholy Death Knight on Midnight Alpha. What do you guys think? Leave a comment down below. Upload, download, consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.